We're parking car.
Well, at 3:30 during the school year, don't ever come to the parking lot because between like 3:20 and 3:45, at 3:45 it goes down. But for that like 20,
328.
it's incredibly.
Whenever you're ready.
I am ready.
All right.
I will now call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Arupa Area Recreation and Park District at 6:30. And Ms. Rivas, can you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
You stand. Put your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, can we get roll call, please?
Division 1, Carol Johnson. Here. Division 2, Jose Luis Godina.
Present.
Division 3, Tammy Rivas. Here. Division 4, Edgar Castellan.
Present.
Division 5, Ross Leisure.
Here.
Thank you.
And we have a presentation.
Yes, we do, Mr. President. We have two this evening. Just put the clicker back in. Our first one will be a new employee, Elvira Pimentel. She's a new recreation coordinator of sports division. Can you introduce yourself and tell a little about herself? You want to step up to the podium?
Hello, my name is Elvira Pimentel. I've been a part of JRPD for about 2 months. So I did do the July 3rd festival. Previous to that, I have a lot of experience in the city of LA with gang reduction youth development. I worked for Parks and Recreation for Humphrey, Hazard Parks, a lot of communities, low-income communities. I also was a recreation coordinator, activity coordinator for a residential facility that deals with kids with special needs and getting them out there, getting them mobile and giving them different experiences. So that's a lot of what I did before. Also before school programs for LAUSD, about 15 to 18 years. So.
So you can see Elvira comes with a wealth of knowledge. We're excited. She's hit the ground running with the youth basketball program, working with our adult sports for Antwerp Regional Sports Park.
Soccer right now.
Yeah, she's got a great attitude, positive. We're loving having her so far. So we're excited for everything she brings.
Do you live out this direction?
But yeah, I live in Fontana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is why
Over the
this
bridge.
is a better commute.
It's definitely way better than an hour 20, an hour 40 doing.
So you were commuting back? and
Yes,
forth
for about 4 years.
I can relate to you and my condolences and.
Yeah, right. I would say I feel more alive, right?
Yes.
The sleep and the rest, as opposed to waking up normally at, because I worked at 6 in the morning and then I used to come out at 10 p.m. at night and come back and do it all over again, Monday to Friday.
That's tough.
Well, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. You're good. Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
And our second presentation tonight, we have the other tree people. They were able to be our last meeting and I left the clicker for you. So if you're ready to go, I'll just get your presentation up for you.
Definitely.
We're ready.
Okay, perfect. So good evening, everybody. My name is Alejandro. I serve as a regional manager here for Tree People, and thank you for the invitation and time to allow me to present a little bit about our organization, what we do here in the Inland Empire, locally as well. And yeah, any questions before we get started? Time limits, I think we should be okay when you're
Good hours, fine.
hour. We can fill up maybe 20, 30 minutes. So our slogan as far as an organization, we always like to say this, trees need people, people need trees. It's our kind of ethos as an organization. Since we started over 50 years ago, this organization actually started over here in the San Bernardino National Forest about 50+ years at this time. So our founder, Andy Lucas, was just an inspired young teenager that decided to take action and start planting conifers up here in the San Bernardino National Forest. We have a model that we created over the years that we love to share and kind of just embrace and embed with other communities as well. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to chime in and let me know. Overall, our mission is to inspire, engage, support, and take personal responsibility for the environment, making it safe, healthy, fun, and sustainable, and share that process as a model for the world. We really live that. We try to place ourselves within all the communities that we work in, really to help communities take that responsibility for their own environmental and just local community as well. So these are some of our focus areas that I'm going to touch a little bit on. There's a lot of information, but I'm going to touch on briefly: community forestry, mountain forestry, education, parks and trails, policy and research, and then the last one is green infrastructure. So I'm going to start with park and trails. We are actually headquartered in Coldwater Canyon Park. I have a picture of what the actual park looks like, but we received this beautiful opportunity to take care of this canyon in Beverly Hills, and we've been headquartered since there. And we primarily base a lot of our programming and educational opportunities in there at Cold Canyon Water Park. And it's a beautiful 5-acre park that has a lot of the facilities. I always like showing this because we actually work at a little yurt offices. It's kind of not common. They're not updated, so they're from like the 70s to 80s, so they're very warm. But it's kind of where we love to work out of our yurt villages. We have educational areas that is open to the public for hiking, just enjoying their days throughout. And moving on to our educational department. So we offer K-12 programming at Coldwater Canyon Park. We do educational programming that is free and accessible to all of LA County, as well as now we're increasing that to San Bernardino County as well as Riverside. So we're growing slowly, but primary the educational program that we do is based out of our headquarters. We do have the W.Y. Keck Foundation Nursery, as well as the Tabor Foundation Environmental Learning Center, where we do a lot of that hands-on education on site. Moving on to another department, green infrastructure. This one is a new and kind of developing department. We are working with a lot of communities and primarily school districts in order to revision a lot of the hardscape areas within their own facilities. So recently we've been developing projects in LA County, primarily this is in LA County, where we're revisioning the spaces and tearing up asphalt and planting trees and gardens. I cannot speak a lot to policy and research. It is not my wheelhouse, but we have a lot of individuals that support a lot of the development of policy and research for green infrastructure, as well as advise local, state, and federal policies of how to increment tree canopy coverage throughout our communities. Mountain forestry. We do have a robust mountain forestry conservation department. We've been working across the Angeles Forest, the San Bernardinos now, as well as Santa Monica and Santa Susana Mountains, doing post-recovery and wildfire cleanups as well. So this department, actually, we recently received a new project here in San Bernardino National Falls. If you're familiar with the area, we recently went through the Angeles, El Dorado, I believe, fires. So we are one of the lead organizations who's going to do post-recovery and planting conifers in that area. Last one. I'll talk a little bit more about this one because this is my department. And I should know a little bit more about this one. Community forestry, this department, we primarily engage in planting trees within communities, so neighborhoods. We try to do this model shared within a dual process where we engage community members and we bring them out. We train them how to be community foresters. We provide them the tools. And then we also support in the process of planting trees. Here's a picture. I believe this is Southgate. And we're introducing a tree here. One of our foresters is teaching the community members how to plant trees, and we're also supporting in that process. This is overall just an image that details a lot of our projects. You can't really see the top corner over there, but a lot of our mountain forestry projects in here are community forestry projects. We're over here in Riverside, Colton, Rialto. We're pretty much everywhere in between. This is outdated. We have an additional project areas that are kind of popped up in the last year and a half. So we're always, as an organization, growing. And now we're one of the one of the leading and largest environmental education or environmental organizations in Southern California. kind of pivoting over to our regional stuff because definitely we could talk about LA and all the LA projects, but we're more interested in talking about our Inland Empire project. So we came out here and with our flagship project in 2022. We are actually brought into the city of Riverside under the Strategic Growth Council to plant 1,000 trees, distribute another 1,000 trees to community members. In 2023, we were able to receive a CAL FIRE Calles Verdes, Rialto, and Colton urban forestry improvement project, beautifying the cities of Rialto and Colton and introducing an additional 1,000 trees. And later that following year, we actually received, somebody said IRA earlier, the Inflation Reduction Act. We actually received a follow-up grant to do additional tree plantings in the city of Rialto, which was pretty awesome. We're kind of staggering that process right now, but we're looking to start planting those trees very soon. Additionally, mentioned earlier that map is outdated because as of this past summer, the beginning of the summer, we actually got approved to move forward with the San Bernardino Urban Forestry Project. We're going to plant about 1,000 trees, distribute about, I believe, 750 community trees to community members. And kind of additional projects that we do in the region, we do have environmental education projects. It's funny, we've actually taken students to the mountain. I'm going to butcher this. It's the Huerpat Mountains Discovery Center.
That's it.
I always get it wrong. So we've done about 3 trips. We brought community members across the Inland Empire. We bus them to the center. We fed them. We let them run loose and just have a good time with the center itself. We also are participating in the Santa Ana Watershed Climate Adaptation and Resiliency Plan. We're one of the partners to capture a lot of the community involvement and voices through that process. So we're very excited about that. So community forestry, this is very in the weeds, but just kind of like cover it pretty simply. Community forestry projects, we try to do, like I mentioned earlier, jointly with the community and the residents that we live with. We try to utilize our technical skills, but also the voices of the community to identify areas where we want to plant trees. This top image up here, we're utilizing sense and mapping from, I believe, USDA, also California State Forestry. They produce tree canopy maps, and they indicate in the green, you can see areas that are potentially have a greater number of tree canopy coverage, and some areas where towards the red, they have least amount of trees. We also develop locations utilizing those maps to start identifying specific plots within parkways, parks, cities, as well as some individual homeowners who plan and introduce trees there as well. And I think it talked a little bit about the planning and prioritization process. We use a lot of data as well as community input to develop those priority areas of where to plant. A lot of this is led through a development, like I mentioned, community members. It's also through the cities and partners that we work with as well. So all of the cities are heavily involved in where we place trees. So as an example, I talked about earlier about the CAL FIRE Rialto Colton, we had a goal of planting 1,000 trees, distributing 250 residential trees, and then hosting 75 community volunteers. Through that process that we did, just finding this information through the community as well as through the city and on the ground teams, we were able to plant those 1,000 trees. I believe at the end of last year, we distributed all 250 trees, and here you can see some of our team colleagues in the field doing tree care for some of those existing trees. One of the approaches that we do within Tree People is not only we do planted trees, and I mentioned this earlier, we invite community members. So we host events where we teach individuals how to plant trees. In this bottom picture here, we're introducing new live oaks in a community in the east side of Riverside. And we're educating through that process so community members can learn the process of how do you properly install a tree within a city hardscape. We also, unlike other organizations, we do provide 2 to 5 years tree maintenance regimens where we come back bi-weekly or monthly to provide watering, pruning, tree care. I believe the bottom picture, might be a tree care event where we just do general checkups. We're checking the moisture of the soil. We are also doing the pruning if necessary, as well as watering, which is a lot of these trees that get planted in communities lack water access to those. And kind of moving forward, so some of the regional project funders and partners, I'm kind of just listing some of these out. We work a lot with federal, state, as well as city partners. Primarily the funders that we work with, CAL FIRE, the USDA, Forest Service. The city partners are definitely involved in making a lot of the decision-making process of in line of where trees go within the city. As well as they take ownership 2 to 3 years into the projects. The cities or partners take ownership of those trees themselves. So luckily, Colton, Rialto, Riverside, and now upcoming San Bernardino, we've overall introduced about 3,000 new city planted trees. We have a plethora of corporate partners. I kind of just wanted to showcase, we do work with a lot of other organizations as well. It doesn't have to be a large project. We always do, one-time tree plantings throughout Southern California as well. I feel like that was pretty fast. What was the time on that? Probably 10 minutes. So not an hour?
Not quite an hour, you're good.
We try to reduce as much as possible so I can go fast, but please feel free to ask any questions. If there's anything that I kind of brushed through pretty fast, I can always come back.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Excuse me, where do the trees come from? Where do you?
Where do we source them? That's a great question. So we work with a lot of local nurseries that grow their own nursery stock here. And depending on what's available, we do plant what we refer to climate adapted trees. So we use a mixture of native trees as well as climate appropriate trees that could potentially come. The majority of the time they do come from here in the Inland Empire, but some of them they are acquired in northern state of California. So they're all within the state. Locally is what we try to go for first, but sometimes like we find in some projects we run out of stock, and this is kind of like in the weeds. A Persian silk tree. It's not native to the area. It's a beautiful tree that does well in our hardscapes, but it's not grown locally most of the time. We do have to source those from Central or upstate California.
The fee for importing those, is that something reasonable, or is that, I guess, does it cost your client more money to import those, or how does that work?
Have great relationships.
Good answer.
That's kind of like the medium approach answer. So we do have great relationships with nurseries. We work with nurseries that have multiple locations throughout California. So one example is AY Nursery. They have about 5 different locations here. They also have them in Central California. So they try to grow their stock in different environments as well as different locations throughout. We pay at cost, I believe, the majority of our trees. One of the great benefits as being a nonprofit is we do sometimes get the better end of the arrangement. So
Nice,
most of the time, it's not always.
thank you.
Yeah, and then we also support local nurseries, small nurseries. So one that we work with a lot, it's Lilia. She kind of runs it's Peña Nursery in Bloomington. She sources the trees throughout California, but she's a locally owned nursery that works with, I believe, 3 staff members, and we like to support them as well. So we source across different nurseries, local nurseries, and depending on the stock availability. So
Thank you.
yeah. Yes.
Give us a short riff on crepe myrtles.
Yeah, no, what a question. But it's a great question. If you live in this area, you see them pretty much everywhere. I think there was one outside, maybe down the street. They're great trees. They fit a need within a purpose. I'm gonna go to one of these images. Maybe not this one. So one of the reasons we plant a lot of non-native trees is because we introduce trees in areas where it might not be suitable anymore, right? It might not be suitable when we're trying to plant trees that potentially at one point or another could have survived in that environment. But as more hardscape, more underlying utilities, overhead utilities exist, it limits the number of trees we can introduce into a specific plot. So crepe myrtles are beautiful trees. They do get overplanted, but because they do meet a niche area that unfortunately you couldn't plant either native trees, larger trees, like coastal live oaks, but a smaller crepe myrtle would do perfectly fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
because don't they take quite a bit of water? I was not under the impression they were a drought tolerant tree.
Not necessarily. It really depends on certain areas. So for this example, because of the expanded parkway, we decided to go with the oak priority. But because it doesn't require much maintenance and our watering, crepe myrtles do on some potential areas do require either a spigot of water or they require like a drip line. But it's again, I always learned to say no to no tree. You can't ever just say no. There's always an environment where you could place a tree, and maybe a crepe myrtle would be a great tree to fit in that
In certain
location.
places.
In certain places, of course. Yeah.
How did you all, with the Colton Rialto project, how did you all get to be part of that project and how potentially when come to our district and to our city here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the initial conversations kind of happen like this. We do a lot of outreach into community members to kind of, leaders within the community to start having those conversations with either state representatives or state organizations. CAL FIRE is a great funder with a lot of these urban green and canopy expansion projects, as well as USDA Forest Service, not so much, but within the surrounding communities. And other organizations that do fund this work, like the California Strategic Growth Council. So it's having those initial conversations to kind of identify areas within Southern California that really are in the red when it comes to low tree canopy. And we started identifying those regions and corridors that could maximize, the number of trees we can plant and or have a bigger impact. With that, we do joint applications. We're very successful at this point. We've been working the last 50 years and over this 50 years through our policy and research department that I can't speak on, but we've gone really successful in doing joint application processes for state as well as federal funding to start pulling that. And we came here in 2022 with Riverside with Just One Ask, a city, I can't recall the top of my head. It might have been a city council member. They asked, why don't we have enough trees in this specific corridor? That spread a project being included in the strategic council as well as a transformative climate cities project. And that's what brought us out here. Since then, we've been pretty acumen to obtaining additional projects. Because the Inland Empire is one of the regions that does have a lot of, if you live here, you notice, right? Smog, pollution, low density of trees, and a lot of different challenges. So there's always a silver lining on a negative aspect. But to answer that question, we do work with a lot of different grant researchers or policy that we do write a lot of applications and grant proposals.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I have a question. When we spoke, you mentioned you used to live here locally. And since we are an agency, from a place where you used to live, if we were to engage in a potential collaboration or partnership, what would be something you would like to see?
That's a great question. It's not in the answer, but just adding, when I was driving here, I drove through Europa Middle School. That was the first school that I came to when I moved from Northern California to Southern California. And it was just an interesting dynamic to see it full with cars and trying to find a parking spot. So yeah, it's kind of, I used to live in the region. I moved out about 5 years ago. I'm kind of currently live in the mountain communities now. But one of those, answering your question now, so what are those parameters? Really is just having a partner that really has an intent and kind of just willing to pursue some of this work. We have a lot of capacity and technical, retention of knowledge from our master herborists as well as their staff. But really is finding those community partners that are willing to put, pen to paper and start assisting in writing some of these, capturing the community feedback. That's also one of the things that we love to see. We can capture that, but if it comes organically from the community members sharing their passion about or their lack of trees within their own community, that also helps a lot. Structurally, from our standpoint, we pretty much are there's really no way to put this in kind of like in a short sentence, but we kind of carry everything in our little to-go boxes. We kind of graft ourselves from one project to the other. We're pretty mobile on doing so. And we've really gotten really good at doing that. But within that process of being efficient, we've also identified processes to help community members to capture that community feedback, to capture that mapping process of, hey, we are going to go out there with the community and develop these type of maps with you to develop a lot of these planting parameters of, hey, where do we want to place trees across our community? It's a long answer. So kind of going back, it's being willing and supportive partner of being able to introduce some of those tree canopy expansion projects, being able to communicate with your community, the constituency of capturing their own feedback as well. So we can talk about this a lot, but sometimes it's best coming from the community members or the people that benefit most from this projects.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a complex, long answer.
Great answer.
Is there a place where we can find a map of our district that shows our, what is considered our tree canopy currently?
Yes, so this one is the USDA's Forest Region 5 Tree Canopy layer. I can share that information with you. I'm gonna leave some cards here as well.
Okay.
I can share all of this information with you at a later time as well. This, it's already developed. There's, I believe, 4 different maps that you can utilize to oversee your county, your city, and you can really go deeper into your own neighborhood as well. So
Sorry, I have some resources I can share with you. This is actually part of the grant information we put together for the ORLP project for 38th Street property in Rubidoux. And one of our points was how low it scored on the urban forestry in Rubidoux as a whole. Quite sad, frankly.
I'm familiar with Rubidoux. I used to live there too.
Yeah, so it's, but we are utilizing a lot of this data within our grant applications right now. I think that was some of the stuff that help spur this request from Director Godinez for this presentation. I mentioned earlier, Tree People have been working with the Discovery Center for some trips and education. I think there's some very natural partnerships that can develop here. Especially as we're looking at doing our own free master plan. So.
You know, that's great to hear. We actually, and kind of a negative news, because of the IRA funding, we've not necessarily been rescinded at this time. We're still in the development. We're working with the city of San Bernardino and Rialto to assist them in the development of their urban forestry management plan. I know the extended areas here in this part of Riverside and the county don't necessarily have those. So we always support and look for funding as well. We've been pretty successful in obtaining those CAL FIRE funded projects to not just develop the urban forestry management plan, but to add that component of community engagement. And sometimes that makes it really competitive in the application process, because not only are you developing something, you're giving something back to the community. Might be just a tree, but it's a tree that's going to help the community help develop an urban forestry management plan, as well as hopefully down the road, develop a grant that could install additional tree canopy. So we're very inclined, always looking for additional opportunities and partners. And like I mentioned earlier, it's just a willingness to work together, and we're down for the cause. So introducing trees to the community. Yeah. Any additional questions? Cool. Awesome. General contact information, I can leave that here, but I can also leave my personal business cards if you want to reach out. I can just, like, if you want to reach out and you have any specific questions regarding any information regarding the organization as Tree People or our team. We do have a regional team that works out of Riverside. And if you ever want to catch them in action, they work Tuesday through Saturday. We have community events pretty much every other month, as well as educational events. So if you ever want to get your hands dirty and learn that process, we do have them pretty much every other month, I believe. And you can always check our website as well. We do have a lot of engagements throughout Southern California that you can get actively involved in. So yeah, awesome. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Hey, take care.
Appreciate it.
Moving on to public comments. Do we have any tonight?
Yes.
All right. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent calendar?
Yes, I would like to pull the check registry. Some questions.
I move approval of items 4.1 through 4.3.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Question, do we go
Yes.
check registry now?
Yes.
Is there a page number or? Or just?
Item numbers, yeah, and I apologize for not asking these before the meeting. I'm going back to the 3rd of July, so it'd be 46,363.
463.
And that's a combination, they supplied the stage and the audio system, or
That was that,
does the band supply the audio system?
no,
Just
the figure.
46463 is Innovative Electrical.
No, it's the Morningstar July 3rd audio and stage rental.
It's 463,363.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Big Ear Audio LLC.
Yes, they're sound and stage.
Okay. And I was looking down the list of things and I see that we had a little farther down, the Ladies of Gilgamesh. Was that
The
the
band, opening band
That's the
for.
opening band? But I see nothing here for the Swift band.
Might have been paid in June.
And I looked back in June and did not see it in June.
So it's not to Swift, it's through a booking agency. I cannot think of the name of them right now. But I will get the name of that and get it to you. It
Okay.
is, drawing a blank right now on the name of the,
Yeah, I went back a couple of
Is it
meetings
great?
and tried to find something and didn't. I was just curious why it was not in the July. And how much it actually costs, so.
I'll look that up and I can get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay, my other questions are Julian's rental trailers. That's for a portable stage, I assume, 46375. Did I get the number right?
concerts in the park.
Concerts in the park. Was that only for one concert? I don't know.
I don't know what the rate is.
That was 350. That's just says
That's what night.
one, this one.
Yeah, I looked all the rest of the way through July. I didn't see any other ones for that.
It
So-
probably won't hit until the August one.
And I know we looked one time at getting our own stage, so I'm looking at, 14 grand, on the stages. Is that something that we might want to look at again, do you think, or?
They are $250,000. I think that's what it came down when we had the discussion a couple years
I
ago.
can't remember what the totals were.
And we're at the point like, so we've been bringing in the big ear stage, big ear audio stage for for the July 3rd. It's bigger than the one we were renting from JCC. They provide the sound, but also comes with a technician. For problem, we can't even get the JCSD stage like into the Stockton Park anymore as the trees have grown. We've talked it over. Our concerts in the park aren't large enough to justify the expense of purchasing the stage.
Okay,
We don't necessarily have a vehicle large enough. We would need like a 1.5 ton vehicle. JCSD uses a dump truck to move theirs around. Bigger audio comes in with a small bobtail towing it, so it was just cost prohibitive as well as logistics for as infrequently as we would need it. And then the other thing, again, a couple years ago, you had me look into the possibility of renting them out to other organizations. And everybody I talked to about doing it kind of said, don't do it. They get too beat up,
okay,
so.
okay, yeah, I was just questioning
No.
because I was trying to figure out all the costs and different stuff with the 3rd of July event. And I felt like there was some holes in the check registry here, so.
Yeah, I'm right here.
And some of it may still be being paid. We have it, if we had, depending on when it came in, if we made the July registry or not.
Yeah, I think in this cost register, we just paid the basketball courts at Clay.
Probably, yeah.
That check had
Sometimes,
gotten lost. I think I may know that check had gotten lost. Is that the one, the larger one?
Yeah,
The check had gotten, it was paid in May.
Oh.
And we had to reissue it because they never received it.
got it.
Okay, well, those are my questions, so I move to approve the July check register.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to board action items. Item 5.1, adoption of the resolution declaring certain real property to be exempt surplus land and making certain findings under the California Surplus Land Act and directing its appraisal and sale. Mr. DeWitt.
yes, I'm actually gonna ask Mr. Owen to kind of take the lead on this one. He's the one that done all this research for us, but as you recall, this is the parcel of land that we purchased through Riverside County about 2 years ago. This is the county came as a package deal. The rest of the parcels is what we are proposing to build the 37th Street Park project on. This is the one parcel that faces Mission Boulevard, and we were contacted by a property owner adjacent that's looking to put in a small office space that needs some additional parking. Mr. Owen can explain the process we have to go through to declare this surplus property, but the first step is approving this resolution tonight.
I'd be happy to. Under the act, you are required to make a finding as to when you have surplus property as to its availability. To make it exempt from being made available, you have to make the finding that is in paragraph 3 of the resolution, that it is less than half an acre and is not contiguous to land owned by a state or local agency being used for open space or low mod housing purposes. So this is the first step. After this is adopted, we will forward it to the Department of Housing and Community Development, and they have 30 days to say, halt, no, you're not, this isn't really what you're saying it is. And if they don't do something within 30 days, then you're free to sell it. And so I would, of course, recommend that you get an appraisal so that nobody can ever say you sold it for less than fair market value, even though it's a very small parcel and the value is not that much, at least a windshield appraisal. And so those would be the steps. Adopt the resolution, give them to DHC, wait 30 days, get an appraisal and sell it. Open an escrow at that point. If you have a buyer, and I think you do.
Now, our recommended motion doesn't mention the appraisal, so should we add that?
No, because it's not required. It's within my purchasing authority as well. If you'd like to, you can, but it's.
I believe it's in the resolution. I put something in there.
I thought we talked about it. I know that was in there, Bob.
Yes, under 5, I did. Unless notified to the contrary by HCD within 30 days, district staff shall thereafter have the property appraised and proceed to dispose of it.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns? All good.
I move that the Board of Directors approve and adopt the submitted resolution number 2025-34, declaring the subject land to be surplus and directing that staff notify HCD and proceed to dispose of it unless notified otherwise by HCD.
I'll second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Kim Gerald Johnson.
Aye.
Edgar Castellan.
Yes.
Ross Leisure.
Yes.
Jose Luis Guzman.
Yes.
Tammy Rivas.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right.
And Mr. President, may I address, I found the check that Director Leisure was actually, it was actually a check that was written on June 25th for $5,000 to Music Zirconia Talent, July 3rd Twist on Taylor.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Moving on to item 5.2, discussion and possible award of bid for district security guards. Mr. DeQuinn.
Yes, thank you. Staff seeked bids for our security services. Over the past couple of years, we've added security services, made it mandatory at all of our facility rentals. Ranch Trooper Regional Sports Park. We'll be adding automatic rentals at the Kurt Bounds Discovery Center, Eddie D. Smith Senior Center. And it was time to go out and get a new bid. Staff submitted a bid on Planet Bids, which we use as our online portal. And from that, we received bids back. Staff is recommending Braga Security. They are out of the Inland Empire. I forget exactly where they're out of. But they do have a lot of different services here in Hoopa Valley, Riverside, Montana. Their rates were very competitive. Current contractor didn't even bid for what reason we don't know. But staff is recommending Braga Security. And I would point out one of the things we did put in here as an option and we're looking to exercise is our park closings as well. We want to make sure that it works out before we go 100% all in with them. Probably a couple months, having them use them for security services before we transition to that. That's something that we've had some discussion on in the past couple of years. I just some general liability concerns I have with our staff out in the evenings. It's getting longer and longer. We've had some incidents involving it as well. And shifting some of that liability is something that I think will behoove the district. So if this works out, our plan would be the first of the year to transition our staff from closing parks to having the security company do it. So
Do you know how the closing procedures would work?
it would work very similarly. The way we wrote it up right now, our staff would drive one of our vehicles, they would drive one of their vehicles, obviously. We have a tablet we would give them. We have an app that basically sets their route for the most part. And there's checklists when they get to each one, they have to check off. If there's any deficiencies, that's called, it's noted, a picture's taken. Date timestamp when they lock each facility and along those lines. And then when they get back to our facility, or their facility, depends on how that works out, it gets uploaded. And then if there's any deficiencies that they found, when our maintenance staff comes in the next morning, they have an email stating, hey, there's a problem with this restroom, or vandalism was here, or something like that. That's how we're able to take care of so many things before, most people are even up. But it would be the same process that we're doing now.
Okay, and the reason I asked that is because I've been walking at night at Vernola, and sometimes the closing procedure has ranged from like 9:30, just before 9:30 to 10 o'clock. I know 10 o'clock is the closing time. It's just there's other people walking around.
Nope. Yeah, they should not be closing before 10 o'clock. So
Yeah.
we'll address that.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's one of the things that it does when they close the parks, it date stamps it. They can't set the time and stuff. So I'll have staff look back at those reports and see what's going on. And we're doing some retraining on all of our staff right now. So make sure that's one of the things we address.
I have a question. So these will be the security guards we use for the rental of the halls?
Rentals July 3rd or special
Special
events.
It didn't say, in the information that I was reviewing, I assume these are unarmed, but nowhere did it say that.
They're unarmed. Yes. We have in the past paid for an armed guard at July 3rd only, had to do with money transportation. But even at that, the sheriff doesn't feel that's necessary anymore because the way that that's when we were transporting money from Patriot High School to here. We don't do that anymore, so it's not even necessary. It's all unarmed.
Any other question, concern? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
I move that the board of directors accept Brapka Security Systems Inc.'s bid and authorize the general manager to execute all associated documents.
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item 5.3, discussion and possible award of bid for maintenance uniform bid. Mr. Dubin.
Yes, this is one the maintenance guys are very ecstatic on. Again, staff being Cody, unfortunately, he's out of town this week, the way the timing worked. Sought bids for new uniform services. Ironically, a lot of the calls we received, we only received one bid, which was from Centos. Even our current provider did not rebid the project. The reality is we've had a couple different service providers over the years, and our staff has never been overly pleased with any of them. Not necessarily the quality of the uniforms per se, but the services actually received. Most of them have opted now to just wash them themselves. They were not coming. I see Mr. Laser shaking his head. I think he's knows exactly.
Yeah.
They come back dirtier than you took, that you sent them out with stains, rips, whatever. Cody negotiated this contract and with Centos, and we've met with all the staff and discussed it with them. Everybody but one was laundering them themselves. We can get a better quality uniform for less than we're paying now through Centos. And the staff will be washing them themselves. All the warranties and stuff are still in place. If somebody rips it, it's still replaced. But the savings comes from essentially the laundering service that we're eliminating, and that's how we're able to get them a better quality uniform. So with that, we're looking for approval of the agreement with Centos. And I think what the staff has decided, I was thinking right now they're gray on gray, dark gray with a lighter gray shirt. They want a lighter gray shirt, but with a dark blue pant is what we're gonna go with.
Okay, so I'm confused. We will not be, this company will not be laundering their.
They're not gonna launder.
Okay,
But with that, we're getting a better quality uniform.
okay, that's fine, but what I guess I was reading, through the material and like there was something about that they would be coming once a week or something.
And that was part of the RFP. That was our process.
Oh,
And so we established a little bidder, then from there we can negotiate the actual final contract. And with only the one, it was an easier process, but that was one of the options they had provided. We could go with the traditional service. The staff would currently receive 11 uniforms. So the idea is you have 5 clean ones, you're wearing one, and there's 5 at the being cleaned. With this, they only get 6 uniforms, you're wearing one, you have 5 to launder. And as Mr. Leisure alluded to, it would come back
Well.
worse than you sent them
Another
out.
problem that a lot of people had, and we had Cintas at Canyon when I worked there. I don't know what chemicals they use, but a lot of people had allergic, I was one of them, had allergic reaction to some chemicals they use. They use very strong stuff, and it was just better to wash it home and not be itchy all the time.
They'll check in with us once a week, so if something is damaged or needs to be replaced.
Yeah, they still check in with us. So
Are we doing anything for the staff since they're gonna be laundering their own uniforms, or it's just they decided?
they
voluntarily-
do it. You actually, there's a tax deduction they can apply for through it by laundering your own uniform, but that's on. there.
That's on it, okay.
and of course, if there's a separation, then they're expected to return.
Correct. Yeah, it's still considered district property, just like the other ones would have been.
I move the board of directors accept Cintas bid and authorize the general manager to execute all associated documents.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item 5.4, update on the Real Fire and the impact to the Harupa Mountain Discovery Center.
It was a real fire.
Yeah.
Is it real?
It was real. Trust me, I pinched myself many a times. As you're all aware, last Thursday evening, we experienced a emergency at the Harupa Mountains Discovery Center. I want to reiterate the fire did not start on the property. It started on Granite Hill. Quickly burned up a steep hillside onto the Discovery Center property and was blown by our evening winds that we get here in Hoopa Valley to the east. It moved fairly quickly. Was a lot of smoke. We were very lucky to not damage any of our main buildings on the site. We did lose a gazebo that was dedicated to the Kirby's, who Kirby's, thank you. Helped establish the facility, as well as another shade structure adjacent to the nursery. There's so many different moving parts in this, and if I'm jumping around, please stop me, ask clarifying questions. I want to really start by commending staff, and not just JMDC staff, but the district staff as a whole. This has impacted us for the past week pretty heavily, and everybody has stepped up in various ways to make sure we're still operating to the public as we normally would. The JMDC staff is doing a phenomenal job on caring for the animals, cleaning facilities, preparing to reopen at some point that we'll give you an update on here a little bit later. Our district admin staff has been helping with purchase orders, communications. Immediately that night, I asked Loretta to just take over his communication with the board, which was phenomenal. Our maintenance staff has been phenomenal at the facility. They're making big dents in the cleanup process. Excel Landscape, our landscape maintenance contractor, has provided us the last 3 days with 7 employees on site to help with the cleanup and weed abatement process. We've reached out to partners in the community, people that we've established relationships with to help with rental equipment operators, our recreation staff, the night of when it kicked off. It was phone calls. It was here to Xena. You still there? Yes. I need you to go to JCC. We're going to be evacuating the animals. They're coming there. Her and Elvira were immediately over there getting stuff set up. Everybody across the board has been helping in some way, shape, or form. And they work better on this than they do on most special events. We had that discussion during our staff meeting today. Everybody knew what their job was and they, no questions asked, stepped up, took care of it. What can I do next? So it was phenomenal. The JMDC staff, I'll show you guys some pictures here in a little bit. They've done a phenomenal job in caring for the animals, cleaning up their enclosures, the facility as a whole. It looks phenomenal. 100% better than it did going into the process. So very, very pleased with everybody. In a nutshell, I provide you guys a little timeline and the stack of paper here in front of you. Just a short little bullet point here. I went back through my phone and pictures and just kind of got some date and timestamps. Thoroughly impressed in how well and efficient everything worked. The only thing in the whole process I'm disappointed in, and we need to talk with our emergency services provider how to get notified quicker. I was the first one notified, and that was from Chris Birch, the GM of JCSD. They're immediately contacted anytime something goes on to make sure that the water services are established and maintained for the fire. He called me, "Hey, you guys okay? What are we talking about?" I said, "You're on fire." That was at 5:07 p.m. I called Wes at 5:08, 5:09, 5:10. He called me back at 5:11. What do you want, Colby? You know, said, "Hey, we're on fire. I'm on my way." He's like, "I'm at home. I'm leaving the house right now." I made it around the corner into Granite Hill. And once I got about a mile down, I could see the smoke and called him back. It's big. He immediately started calling staff. For some reason or another, half the staff they must have been sitting around the corner or something. They showed up with boyfriends, girlfriends, they're out on dates or whatever. I took a very poor video. That's basically my steering wheel and the A-pillar column trying to get the fire as going by on Granite Hill. That was at 5:16 p.m. After I got through the roadblocks, pulled into the property at 5:20 to find Maribel that was already on site. She was up in the office. The smoke hadn't reached there yet. It did shortly after. She didn't even realize that there was a fire on site. CAL FIRE's in, like their sirens weren't running or anything. Immediately after me pulling up there, CAL FIRE engine pulled up. She opened the door and the two of us are the least reptile friendly. How's that? We were grabbing and bagging as fast as we could. Staff showed up shortly after. That was about 5:30 when the first fire truck rolled up top there. At 5:51, the last of the animals being the sulcatas, there's a picture of them being loaded in the back of the Jeep. They get them out of there. I think I've shared with you a lot of you the picture of the palm tree by the sunken garden being hosed down. I took that as me and Wes were the last two on the property. That was a time stamped at 5:59. We had talked to the captain. We unlocked we left the main building unlocked and we unlocked door shut and unlocked the museum in case they needed to get inside for some reason. And we took that picture when we were walking out at 5:59. I looked at my clock on my radio pulling in after going through roadblocks again, pulling into JCC at 6:09. So in under an hour and 2 minutes, We had all the animals out of their crates in their storage, loaded up and back to JCC, most of them out of there in under about 25 minutes. They did a phenomenal job. That evening, me and Wes came back here, what was it, about 9:30, we went with the battalion, it was late.
It's all bar.
It's all a blur. At that point, the fire was not necessarily under control, but it was basically out. There was still smoldering going on from the, I don't want to call it mulch because it's not mulch, it's the chippings that were on site. That's when he informed us, basically, once we have this out, it's now your guys' responsibility to deal with the smoldering of the wood chips on site. But indicated that they would leave, most of the crews would start just leaving at about midnight. And ironically, another fire broke out right behind my house that night. I woke up at 3 o'clock to the dog barking, to another 7 acres behind my house on fire. So I think they left from there to this one. They kept crews on all night. We had a briefing the next morning at 8 a.m. at Station 18 right here on Mission. The only thing still was the smoldering going on the site. From the time the fire hit to their peak, there was 160 firefighters assigned to the incident. 2 water dropping helicopters, 1 fixed wing airplane, 2 bulldozers. And those numbers don't account to the aerial crews. There was also a total of just shy of 8,000 feet of hose ran. There's still some hose on site. I think they found another roll today, I heard. So we're stockpiling that. They're gonna come back for that. Cal Fire kept a crew on site until 7 p.m. 3 crews on site, I'm sorry, until 7 p.m. Friday night. That day, we were able to get 3 water buffalo delivered about noon that day. And late afternoon, we had a bulldozer delivered. The water buffalo were from some just connections Kurt has made over the years for rental equipment. He reached out to his contact, even though he was off. They worked diligently to get us. We asked for water trucks. They couldn't get them. They weren't available. In reality, the water buffaloes were much better for us. We got those delivered. And then to find a bulldozer and an operator was a challenge. Reached out to a couple different contacts we've made throughout the years. Casa Construction, who built Shadow Rock Park, and also Riverbend. I reached out to the owner and, hey, you got a dozer available by chance? He's like, yeah, what's going on? I told him. He goes, I have one in Hoopa Valley. My only problem is I don't have my Class A driver. This was Friday. He's gone for the weekend. If you can get a Class A driver, he can take my truck, trailer, and dozer. I don't have a problem with that. Reached out to Valerie, our recreation manager. Her husband's a heavy machinery mechanic. Does he know anybody? Through his contacts, we were able to get somebody to pick that up and bring it over to the center. Immediately that evening, they ran for a few hours till about 8 o'clock, dozing the piles as much as possible to break it up, to open it up, to get it to air out. Casa Construction then provided another operator Saturday. He ran from 7 till 3:30 or so, doing the same thing, just breaking everything down, opening it up. Made a huge difference. They came back Monday and Tuesday, did some more of the same, as well as down by the lower warehouse. There was some chippings down there, as well as some mounded dirt. We had them go ahead and blade that out, flatten it out for the parking that needs to be down there anyways. Kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Since then, we have been dealing with hot spots the last couple days. Was there any today, Wes?
I drove around the property before coming over here and everything looked good. So the last one we had was last night with Cervantes.
Last night, Senator Cervantes did come by with her crew, her office to tour the facility. There was something they had scheduled prior to this happening. They still wanted to come. I think for obvious reasons, it's a very good move on our part. I had toured the senator around the facility while Wes was showing a lot of the staff the other facilities. everything was fine and dandy. I left a little bit early because I had previous appointments. He called me and we had a hotspot. I'm like, I was just there 25 minutes ago. It was nothing. So they're still popping up. Our staff came in and dumped another probably 1,000 gallons of water, I guess.
2 water buffaloes. So that's-
Yeah, about 1,000 gallons of water. And we're just dousing it. And I, hopefully, like I said, that's the last time we have to do that. We're keeping them on site for another couple days, just as emergency. There's one always hooked up and filled to a maintenance truck, so it's ready to go at any time. Today we hauled out 4 40-yarders. We hauled three 40-yarders of debris. We're waiting for a certificate from CAL FIRE that we have to give the hauler for any of the burn material. They want a certificate basically saying it's out. Nobody wants to take the liability of accepting something that still may be smoldering or on fire at a waste facility and starting another fire. So it makes a lot of sense. We've learned a lot in this process. I was completely mind blown that we have to take over the mop-up process of the smoldering and all that. CAL FIRE has been very gracious with us, very supportive. Said they've left us extra hoses and stuff that we're still utilizing. We had a lot of lessons learned. I think our evacuation plan for the critters worked well, but we did find some holes in it that we could improve upon. Couple more crates and tubs are needed, some different sizes are needed, and some different type of mechanisms for a couple of the animals for securing the lid are gonna be needed. I think if they haven't been purchased already, they've been researched and will be purchased. But everything was where it was supposed to be. When we came in and myself and Maribel were able to start grabbing it, they were on the carts. We rolled it right out. We had a lot of stuff bagged, and then staff walked in and they knew what to do. It worked well. There's some things we've learned that we need to look at for the facility that will make things easier if something like that ever happens. I think we need to look at a 4-wheel drive vehicle. We did get our regular 2-wheel drive pickup truck stuck, pulling that 500 gallons of water. That's 4,000 pounds plus the trailer. It got stuck in some of the softer dirt, some of the chippings. I think we need to look into purchasing one of the water buffaloes to be on site. For emergencies like this, we all know the water system is not the greatest and has had some issues. It'll allow us to provide water to the site if needed. We used one of them today for the Irish Society to water their plants that have not been watered in about a week now. Pretty sure we're not going to be able to have the chippings and mulch to the extent that we've had on site. We use a lot of that for dust control as well as weed abatement. The water buffalo would be something that we could use for, they have spray bars off the back to water down some walkways on days that we know are gonna be very heavily traveled and stuff like that. So I think that's something we need to look at. We're working on a new gate already, the front fence of the facility. CAL FIRE Battalion Chief made a very, I think, educated statement. It's amazing what their bulldozer drivers can do. And he followed that up with, it's amazing what our bulldozer drivers do. They went right through our front fence at one point. There's about 50 feet up front.
Wow.
They also came, they originally staged in the lot to the west of us there off of Pyrite and Granite Hill. They came up and over by the westernmost cell tower.
Yeah, I went through 60-foot fence over there to come in.
Yep. And then they came up and over a berm that had been built to keep the Jeeps and motorcycles out, went right through that. Worked their way across the property, got to the east end where the fire was getting close to the houses, and took out another 50 feet or so of wrought iron fence over there. In doing so, made us some new trails throughout the property, which will be helpful in certain ways. They also,
Advantage of.
sorry,
We'll try to take advantage of it.
Yes, try to take advantage of. They found our 4-inch water line, which was about generously 6 inches underground. In one spot and ripped about 50, they like 50-foot increments, I think. They ripped about 50 feet of that out. We're gonna be playing whack-a-mole with, our water here for the next week, 2-3 weeks. As we repaired that, yesterday. They turned, or 2 days ago, they turned it on yesterday, let it dry overnight. Found another spot just down from there that was now leaking. So as we fix something and recharge it, we're gonna keep finding more stuff. Where the main fire was over on the western side, most of the irrigation pipe there, water spigots all melted. There's some, I'll show you some pictures later on if you want to see them, but hose bibs and valves just literally 1-inch pipe just bent right over from the heat that was out there. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of things and I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. But I think I'll stop at that because I need some more water. So.
I don't know if the board's aware that Colby has worked 11 days straight. It's probably.
So is Wes, so has most of the.
And long days, not just going for a few hours, morning to night so I applaud.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let's take.
It's a lot to take in.
I want to say this. I do not think that there is another agency in Harupa Valley who could have done and reacted what we've done, we've reacted. And I say we, it's not we, it's of course all of you. And seriously, they didn't have the ability, they didn't have the equipment, they didn't have the connections, they didn't have the people that they could call on. And I really feel that I've got to be honest, this is why we wanted to take on the Harupa Mountains Discovery Center. We felt we could, and we didn't feel there were others that could, and we did, and look what happened. And I think most of them are going, woo-wee, dodge that bullet. They're not like, oh darn, that we couldn't take on that fire. I'm sure the staff at various other agencies very happy that they're not dealing with this right now. I'm sorry, we're dealing with it. But that being said, I just want us to get an action plan put into place, like a palm tree action plan and a wood chip action plan. And I will be honest with you guys, I appreciate how quickly you got the animals out. It wasn't quick enough. I mean, it's not. I mean, I've had friends who had 5 minutes to get out of their house. So, it was amazing what you managed to do in the time frame you did it. No, I'm surprised you had that much time. And so this is what concerns me.
One of the things that James here already had in place in case of a fire, we would contact Carlos Martinez, the owner of Reptile Factory. They have 4 different outlets around the Southern California area. And they have a large place up in Wood Ranch where they would be able to accommodate all our critters. We contacted them. That was one of my first calls after I got the call from Colby. And contacted Carlos. He dropped everything he was doing, threw everything into his van at work. He and his wife came out. By the time they got out, we were leaving the property. He complimented us on how fast we got all the animals out. And it's no small feat to move all those animals.
Mm-hmm.
But they complimented us on how fast everything moved out. And they really expected when they got there, they would be helping us load up animals as opposed to coming over here to the community center to help us unload vehicles to load the animals in. So it really did work well. And for the time that, if you're looking for the time we were notified, Colby got the call from Chris to the time that we were unloaded, it's about an hour. But if you look at the time that we were on site, really working it, it was really only about 20 minutes at the most. Because people are having to get there. And then they left the property and Colby and I dibbled around there for a little bit, doing a couple other things. that we
Kind
had
of sneak
do
to
the
see
work
where the
with.
fire actually was, yeah.
And then we left.
No, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and I get 5 minutes is,
There's always room.
Maybe-
I mean, I think what this tells us, number one, is there probably needs to be fire exercises. Whether that's once a year or twice a year, where you literally act like the fire is bearing down and you just boom, boom, boom. But it just also concerns me that, in the end, the last thing I want to think about is any of our staff getting hurt because they're trying to save the animals, and any of the animals dying in a unpleasant conflagration. I mean, that's just where I don't want to be.
so one of the discussions, and that was my biggest concern as well, staff and the animals, staff first. Discussions with the battalion chief on site the next day, Division Chief Otterman, talking about, okay, with these new fire hazard mitigation plans that are out there, we're in a severe, what is this? I actually talked to Otterman 2 nights before at the National Night Out. I said, hey, I need to meet you out there. I want to talk about the Discovery Center, make sure what we're working on is your highest priorities and stuff. Didn't plan to meet in this way. Their biggest concerns are not necessarily some of the trees that are out around the buildings, which kind of surprised me, but it's the fact that we've cleaned out our gutters. That because of the style of buildings we have, there's no open gables, there's no open venting and stuff. They're not worried about the metal buildings burning. They're not going to burn. They're worried about embers getting inside, and we don't have those opportunities because of this type of structures, at least our 2 main ones. What we call the West Museum, which is the old house, there's opportunities there. They were never threatened because of the type of structures around it. If something had gotten really bad and we couldn't get there, the animals probably would have been okay. We don't want to test it and find that out, but so I was relieved to hear that. They looked at the gutters and they were cleaned. The one palm tree the video I shared that was burning, we trimmed that up the first week. It's those types of things. Had they not been trimmed up, that could have been a whole different story. The whole sun, we could have lost the sunken garden. There's one picture of a palm tree that was on fire. We had trimmed all those farms up as well. We all understand how palm trees can go up, like a candle basically. So there's a lot of things that have already started to take that was mitigating these issues. And I do have a meeting with the fire marshal next week that we're gonna get out there, and there's a whole formula that has to do with mulch. Their preference would be none. We'll have to look at what the reality ends up being. But the dropping of mold of the chippings had stopped about 15-20 days ago. So we have not, and nor will we be accepting any more at this point. There are some piles that we are going to have to either remove or find a place that we can spread. And those are things that we'll be working with CAL FIRE on how to address those. Back to some things we learned. Kind of a convoluted story here, but I think we need a vehicle for JMDC, not a truck. Our current recreation van would be perfect. It would house we could get all the animals in there with the exception of the sulcatas in one load. Theoretically, if you had to, 2 people can get everything loaded up and out of there.
That's what I was gonna say. This time you had some staff that weren't on site
Yep.
and they came in with extra manpower. We're not always gonna have that, so we'd have to factor that in.
In reality, I think 2 people, not being me, I was a little timid there, I'm not gonna lie. Turtles don't bother me. The snakes the stuff that kept in cage, piece of cake. I got these. These are mine. Maribel's got more guts than me. She was reaching in there, grabbing snakes and put them in bags. She's a rock star.
Speaking of which, I know we're spending a lot of time. We're spending a lot of time. Spending a lot of time on talking about the critters, and that's all well and good. My biggest concern is we had an employee on site by themselves without any knowledge that there was a fire. And had the wind been stronger, had things been different, to me, we got lucky. And I think we were very close to something that could have been very bad. And I feel that even more than the critters, we need to address that. We need to address to find out what can we do to warn employees? Why should we, this is a perfect example of why we should never have one employee on the site at any given time. I think some strategically placed sprinkler systems in the future. I understand the metal buildings, but maybe it would have been nice to have one over the sunken garden. You know, just to raise something that can be turned on in the event and left on, we can get out of there. I think there's a lot of things that still need to be addressed as far as safety and concern for the employee, for the staff there. The animals, losing them, the critters would have been terrible. I would have felt really bad, but I would have felt a lot worse if Maribel would have gone in that place. And I think that's what we need to spend the time on. That's what we need to put the effort in. Because if we make it safe for the staff, the animals are just safe there too. So
I completely agree with you. And just to reiterate, I have stressed with staff, there is to not be anybody on site by themselves. One of the reasons Maribel was in the building with it locked is there had been 2 transients on site that were removed about an hour before this. And same reason, for that same reason, she should not be on the property alone. That's why she'd closed the doors. So I completely agree with you, and we've already addressed that.
Regarding employees being by themselves, the rule is you don't be by themselves. What happened, it was something unusual in that Maribel and Jenny found somebody on the property. They shoot them off. I came back around the property, was making sure they got off the property. Jenny had left. Maribel went back up to the office to get something out of the office. And then, like many of us do, when you go back to your office, well, I'll deal with this. And so she just started stalling. She's just got involved in something. She told me she was going to be leaving, so I assumed she was off. I didn't make the call to follow up that she was in fact off.
in the meantime, this is training. This is all training.
Nope.
Everything you're
Right,
talking
but
about.
what I don't want you to think is that the policy of GMBC.
I did not even mention that.
I understand, but I'm saying as we're coming underneath your umbrella, I don't want you to think that this was something that would be normally that we would do. We would always have everybody off the property. I'd try and be the last one off. And just this one fluke, the stars aligned.
I know, like I said, my personal thought, I mentioned this to somebody right away. We were one raindrop away from a perfect storm that would have been, a disaster in this facility. And the loss of human life is the biggest disaster. And that's what I wanted. You'll never be able to prepare enough so it never happens.
Correct.
I mean, I get that, but I think we need to find a way to prepare as much as we can to try to prevent it as best we can. And if that means cameras that can, with infrared, that can, especially in that facility, that can spot a hot spot and set off an alarm on the facility. If we can do it for an entire forest, we can do something like that for that facility. And I know it might not be cheap, but after what happened, I think it's necessary that we look into those particular measures to ensure that this doesn't happen again like that.
Right, I just want to make.
No one's blaming you. No one's casting any blame on anything, so.
I'm
No,
not saying blame, I just want,
Yeah, or
we do have things that have been in place. It just, for whatever reason, it glitched.
right. Well, I guess we have to make sure that the employees understand and don't glitch in the future. Is part of it.
Right.
And I think that, I think this was a great learning experience, and I think everyone sees what happened here and went, oh, I see, we must not do this. And I think every individual employee has to be responsible for themselves. It can't be only if West circles back around, does everything work out right? It has to be, we all have to be responsible for ourselves. But that's just a unique facility. We always knew it was gonna be a unique facility. It's in the middle, but yet it's isolated. And so I think we just have to.
There's other things that we've been talking about as well, you know, Mr. Laser brought up, you know, is there some sort of irrigation system that we can install? You know, some big cannon type of deal that.
In certain areas, I can see would help, yes.
I had the same thoughts myself. I had the same thought in my personal backyard, you know, how we could do.
I made the point to go up there the very next morning.
Mm.
And I got yelled at for driving through the entrance and going up there, but anyway.
I got yelled at too, so don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
And I will compliment staff. I've been I mean, the amount of people on that property and the amount of things that were going on to fix things, clean things up, make things better, that fast the next day was great. And I definitely want to throw my compliments to staff, to you and the rest of the staff for getting all that done. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just sitting here picking on things that
No.
I think didn't go the way they could have. But you know, yeah, it was a real eye opener to see what was up there the next day. I mean, power lines, power poles that were melted, you know, but they already had generators up there for that. You know, they had these things, they already had people there for that on site. I mean, and we were up there, what, like 9:00, 9:30 in the morning, was that early? I don't remember how early it was, but we were up there pretty early in the morning, you know. And so staff was doing great. I mean, you had the, you know, water on the thing, your stirred piles. I mean, everything was working just the way it should, and that's fantastic. But I just looking at preventative measures as best we can.
Right. One of the things that we have talked about, what makes more sense now because of this situation with the staff there, looking at a storefront on the front of the office gift shop area. Primarily, we're looking for heat and climate issues, keeping the wind out, you know, when the winds are blowing, stuff like that, a glass storefront. But having the glass storefront that could have been locked, we would still ultimately put the roll-up door down as well. But that provides some safety, looking out the building. What's going on? Is it a smoke? Is there somebody out there that's not supposed to be? Is it an animal? Is it, you know, whatever? I think that's something that we need to, that wasn't on the list.
This of that facility, if we put up a couple of cameras, or you know, from the Forestry Service, they do have the ones that can sense fire.
Mhm.
And we can have an alarm system in the museum, in the gift shop. You know, maybe one on a pole somewhere, you know, but I don't know what those units would cost, but I think in that particular facility, it might be worth the cost.
Well, and I think another thing that, I mean, was shocking to me when you said there were bulldozers up there. I mean, I don't think the Hoopa Mountains Discovery Center is a wildland facility. Obviously, they did.
They hit it with everything.
Yeah, but still, they weren't gonna hit the neighborhood with bulldozers. They were hitting
They hit it.
a little bit.
They
You know
turned
what I
the road
mean?
up there in no time at all. I was impressed by the.
So
road
they see that as this open land place where you, like a vacant piece of property that you would hit with a bulldozer or national forest or whatever. So it's like, oh, that's eye-opening. What, wouldn't have thought of it that way.
One question, and that's, you mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned that there were no alarms, the fire trucks had no.
So those sirens going.
Why?
I don't think there's any, once I was on the property, I didn't pass any coming in and they were in the property, they turned their alarms off. They turned their sirens off.
Oh.
Yeah, they're on the property. They're in 80 acres. There's nobody around. They need to worry about getting out of their way.
The boulders passed me on the freeway.
Yeah.
That's why I knew it was bad.
In thinking about these mitigation measures, do we couple this with our discussions moving forward with the JMDC master plan and our vision plan, our future plans for the facility?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. And how fast do you think, like, how fast will this expedite those discussions? We'll
I
see.
think those are some things I'm asking for guidance from you guys on this evening here. Obviously, we can't make any decisions tonight, but you can provide guidance to come back with some agenda items. I think. And I mean, but before I proceed with that, let me fall back on this. We have insurance. That we all know that. I've been talking with Matt from Capri. The way the insurance works, what it is we'll actually file for, what's reimbursable. I'm still getting clarification on all this. The structures we lost, obviously reimbursable. The costs we're having to do to clean up the property, some may be, some maybe not. I don't know 100% yet. We can file a claim with CAL FIRE for the water line that was broken.
And the fencing?
And the fencing that was destroyed. The wrought iron is the HOA's, not ours. But our fence up front, yeah. What we're gonna run into though is what's the value of it as depreciated? That chain link that was up there was
Years old.
20, 30, how many years old?
That's bad.
Yeah, it was bad to begin with. There's cars have gone through it over the years, you cut, you name it. So yeah, we were gonna be out of pocket on this. I don't know what yet. Me and Loretta, she's gonna track it, everything associated with this, so when everything's done and wrapped up, we can provide you with those costs and stuff. My assumption is we're gonna want to rebuild at least the gazebo that was dedicated for the family. What we want to do for the shade area by the nursery, I think there's value to it. We'll look at, but frankly, what it was versus what we would replace it with, it's gonna be significantly more money. They're not gonna pay $25,000 for a shelter that was bought at Home Depot.
Right.
So it's all how we want to prioritize this stuff. My recommendation is if we put a shelter back in, it's not wood. We put in some form of a metal structure that is going to be more resilient against a fire. We had talked about using a lot of that shade cloth on different areas within the property, and one of the reasons the area next to the nursery went up, not because the material was necessarily burning, it was the pine needles that were on it. Those are what lit on fire. There's a number of trees we need to remove. A couple of the pine trees, just because of where they're at. Me and Wes were talking about today, they did sustain some damage from it. They may not make it anyways, but we need to look at removing those for some mitigation efforts. There's definitely some of the palm trees that are concerns. A couple of those are, 70, 80 feet tall. And if one of those lights in a big Santa Ana wind or something that's already up there, those embers are gonna blow forever. So those are things we have to look at as well. So we talked about the fence, we talked about, I completely agree with Mr. Leisure, security cameras, if we can find some sort of alert system, definitely something we need to research. The vehicle, the water buffalo, we need to acquire an auger for the Bobcat. We lost about 100 of the 4x4 posts that are used to define the trail. Those are not things that have to be redone and in place to reopen. As Wes explained to me today, those are only things that were installed within the last 6 to 8, 10 years or so.
Yeah, those are
Do work.
Eagle Scout service projects that we started in 2016 or 17.
Yeah, the facility was open and operating for decades before those are not a requirement to open.
Oh, how many hydrants are on the property? And could you see a need for something more strategically placed? Do you think they were adequate for?
I think they're actually, honestly, I think they're in the best spots we could think of. There's one just north of the gift shop. There's one down by the parking lot below like the Nursery and West Museum. And then the third one is over by, it's on your map here.
It's right above the lower warehouse.
Yeah, right above the lower web, we're doing that like the STEM area. It's not labeled right here, but it's right here.
Yeah.
It's right there. So I don't think it makes sense to put something way up in the far west of the property.
I was just
It would
curious.
be cost prohibitive. Those firemen ran hose fast
Oh, I saw when I was
Holy
at the
cow.
next day, there were hoses
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, so I don't know if you could strategically place one in a better spot.
Okay.
Probably not.
So yeah, and we could. I just don't know what the best options there are. This map here in front of you, it's not perfect by any means. The orange shaded area kind of represents the fire burn areas. The areas with the yellow around them, those are either the structures that were burned, or those are areas of concern we have that we need to address, repair, improve. The ones in red, those ones are actually ones that need to come out. Some of them are already being removed. CAL FIRE did a little too good of a job us in certain areas. We'd have loved some little assistance here and there. But there's a number of structures that are planned to have out before the end of the year. We're already in place.
What are the green areas?
The green areas, those are areas that we've been talking about, and by no means are they defined, but just generalized areas for the tortoises and the turtles. So the green area kind of up by the restrooms and stuff would be more for the desert tortoises and the
Leopard tortoises.
the leopard tortoises. And the bigger green area down there is in what's kind of referred to as the what do you call it, rest of the critter garden. That's where a bigger sulcata enclosure could be. Yeah. One of the things we did notice with sulcatas where they're at, besides being a small enclosure, and then the old bathrooms, they need to come out. We can only get one vehicle back there at a time to load up. So having that area free and clear, it's not only better emergency situation wise, but it's a much better staging area for the learning expeditions. You know, more of a quad central area that can be better utilized in other aspects as well. So these are just very crude drawings right now.
Well, what I think would be nice to see, and I'm not sure it's the best way to do it, but to put some lists together. Priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, that way. That way there we kind of have an idea of what we need to attack first, second, third down the list and put those in some kind of order, I think would be the right way to go forward in this.
I think we can wait until some master plan is in place to get the more of the fire stuff.
Yeah, and a master plan is more a long-term vision for the facility. These are immediate needs that would stay in place, that would benefit safety first.
Right.
Well, priority 1, obviously things that can be done now, period, right, cost be down, we have to get these things done to make the facility what we need to have it down. And then priority 2 would be the next most important. And
When will we talk about this? Is this gonna be a special meeting?
That's one of the questions I
Are we
had.
gonna-
How do you want to see this come back? How quickly? We can move on
Right.
some of these things fairly quickly. You know, we can talk with our camera providers. We can work on fencing quotes. We can, the water issues are larger. I don't think that's something it's gonna take a lot more planning for that. You know, for an irrigation or something like that. The current system won't suffice. We know that. There's some electrical issues that come with all this as well. We still have to have what's referred to as the West Museum looked at by a building inspector and see what is the ultimate long-term plans for that is. That's why it's highlighted in yellow, I'm talking with Wes.
It's not a fire issue.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
The West Museum?
Why
So
is it-
the West Museum was what you would refer to as a white elephant that I inherited.
Mhm.
The directors prior never finished the
Oh,
building.
is that? Okay, I know what you're talking about.
So it was a small residential that they put a 2-story addition onto.
Misnomer to call it the West Museum.
It's a name I inherited.
So I think it's just the
Structure.
West, stop
Whatever
calling it a
you wanna call
museum,
it.
because that implies something more than,
Yes.
I know what you're talking about, then, yes, let's
Yeah.
stop calling it the museum, because it's not a museum.
The idea at some point, I guess, was to make it a cultural museum.
That's where we had that meeting with
No, that's the regular museum.
that's the regular. Okay.
It's the old house.
It's the real museum.
House.
It was a house, they,
Just
it was wrapped, but it was never stuck in.
So Obi, we already have established a committee for this. So my suggestion would be to sometime within the next week or so, have a meeting of that committee and you to start making those priority lists. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I would like to see at least for the immediate time being, some kind of update at each of our board meetings,
Which we're already gonna get anyway.
which were, but I mean, fire update or, repair, yeah, so.
More an agendized item rather than
Yes.
just part of my general manager.
Yes, yeah, at least for the immediate time being, but I think like this, we need to get those lists in order. So we can get working on them. That would be my take.
Has that committee been established yet?
Yes, we have.
So we approved it and Mr. Godinez and I have been discussing it. He has committee members.
Okay, so we can talk about it.
Would it be more efficient to have the committee as a, because I think there's a lot of good input as a board when we're trying to triage priorities, but
Kind of like the idea of having a committee as well. We're gonna have to kind of go simultaneously,
right,
but just to help prioritize. So there's some, that way it's not just Colby and West bringing this to you. If we come in with a crazy idea, it's at least been vetted somewhat.
sure.
I think will make it a little more efficient for us.
Okay. Any more guidance that you need or?
Is there any opposition, to anything that I've discussed so far that you don't like?
No, Mr. Godinez, there seems to be some.
Yes, I know. I was just making sure everyone
Yeah, no, I don't.
comments.
Yeah, just my very simple comment is, boy, it sure is gratifying to me to hear the concern that you all are expressing for JMBC, for what happened. How concerned you are with making sure that things go in the right direction in the future. It genuinely makes me feel really good, but certainly pass it on to our board and, but thank you.
And just to clarify, everybody here knows Mr. Danielson, but he is the new president of the JMDC, the nonprofit.
That's great.
They haven't decided if that's a good thing yet or not.
And I mean, I do want to say, we've talked about things like replacing the Kirkby gazebo. I mean, we could do a community outreach.
No, exactly. And the reality is, I think we all understand that's something that we all know is important. But I'm not gonna say it's gonna be one of our priorities to get done right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course not.
The Kirkby's nephew is a mechanic here in the city.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
The Kirkby.
Talk with him.
Is he a Kirkby?
His,
Okay. Just curious.
okay.
So I think we've got some good marching orders and we'll get that going.
Yeah, the trees. We gotta figure out the trees. Make sure that every tree that's there has a purpose and.
Well, that, I think
It's not a
part of the
liability.
process. That's gonna be part of our discussion with CAL FIRE as well. This new fire hazard mitigation plan. It's being interpreted by everybody differently. So we'll see what the fire marshal, how he responds. So
Okay.
And then if tree people can,
I think tree people would be a great opportunity for us. And then Empire Resource Conservation District, who we worked with in the past, JVC's worked with in the past. There's a number of community partners that can help with different things out there. So.
So basically, to what Ms. Johnson was saying, it's, we need to find out strategically, put everything in place, go tree by tree and say, is this what we need here? Does it work? Does it not work? To a lot of certain things, not just tree, maybe to a lot of the stuff that's there. How does it affect us? What are the pros and cons of having it?
Yes, I think that's a good.
and this is a
point.
good pilot to do this district-wide as well, so.
Yeah, maybe we can, it's a, what is it, a learning curve for other situations or other
Mhm.
sites.
And then, you're good with guidance?
I think I'm good.
Moving on to item 5.5, more about our favorite topic, discussion of learning and picnic areas at the Pruva Mountains Discovery Center. Mr. Dewey.
This was something we were working on prior to all this. As you guys recall at the last meeting, we informed you about the little mishap involving our favorite community partner here, the CAL FIRE. And the rock corral that was inadvertently flattened. You guys asked to bring back some items for discussion on we kind of talked about, some temporary options that myself and Wes were looking at. And the kind of what I felt your guidance was bring back a more permanent solution. If we're gonna do it, let's look at doing it right. Obviously, with the events of the last week, a lot of this is very, very fluid right now. I inadvertently did not attach these pictures to your staff reports. I apologize for that. I was a little preoccupied. But in front of you, the printouts, these are just some very standard, what we would refer to as a picnic shelter, the first couple pages. And then what I'm just calling a shade and post options that are out there. These are kind of the two best options we have looked at so far. There's pros and cons to both of them. I am not sold, married to either one of them. I believe, I don't want to speak for him, but if you ask Wes, he's more leaning towards a solid roof structure because of weather issues. Really what we want to talk to you guys about is what is it you envision for this? If we're going to do something, if we're going to do it, let's do it right type of I think the concept that we're looking at. Ms. Johnson asked about the locations. That's the other map I gave you here. We sat and talked with the Discovery Center staff. We already know the Rock Corral had to get moved anyways. It just sped up the process. It's non-ADA compliant. You know, our first kind of knee-jerk reaction was kind of just moving the Rock Corral to the east across the dirt road there. It was the closest location. But when we sat down and talked, you know, they're looking for the proximity to the restrooms, proximity to the kind of the main central campus, if you will. And they identified what's on here as location 1, which is directly west of the museum. There's a nice flat area there, close to the restrooms, yet far enough away that, you know, any noise wouldn't impact other activities going on. If, you know, there's a loud activity going on in that education area, it wouldn't impact anything in the museum or the dino den type of a deal. Location 2 is on a slope. And depending on, as a staff report, wasn't very clear, I understand that, but if we decide to go with a kind of the post and sale option, more of an auditorium style, that slope could be advantageous, kind of like a lecture hall would be. We can set up similar to that. If we go with a solid structure concept, it's going to need to be flat, obviously. We would want it something large enough that you could also use as a lunch area. So picnic tables permanently installed would make a lot more sense there. You can sit backwards on the picnic tables, you know, so everybody's still facing the same direction, use it for a lecture type area. If we did, you know, want more of the slope area with the post and sale, we'd probably do more benches. We could get away with not having to pour concrete. We can leave it more natural, maybe do DG rather than just straight dirt. The post and sale, we can work with the elevations. They're extremely custom. So we can get kind of better, make it blend into the environment a little bit better. But it doesn't provide, they are weather resistant. They'll keep the rain out, but there's more gaps for the rain to come through.
Right.
There's pros and cons to both. I personally think that the sales blend into the facility better, but I completely understand why that solid roof is so important.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think, given what's happened, the metal one may be better, maybe in terms of design to.
And they are fire retardant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sales aren't, they're fire resistant.
Yeah.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think if we're going to, let's do something right from the start. I think the metal covered area would be a lot more suitable for the students, for any agendas, anything that.
But we need to know the cost.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
I
I just need some ideas from you guys.
That, and I think the bench seating is more open to larger class sizes than the picnic tables.
You're
I
correct.
don't know what the average class size is, how many actual seats, because the one that Ms. Johnson and I visited, there were people standing up. So there wasn't enough seating on the benches that were existing.
Well, the kids were all seated, but the adults were standing.
We keep the kid size to 80 students. That's where we cap it at. And if it's a homeschool, and they bring 60 adults, we're not gonna be able to sit all 60 adults.
Priority are the kids.
Right.
But
So the kids can see.
Yeah.
So what I've learned through all this process is the public school coming in or traditional, even a private school, they tend to have a parent chaperone to student ratio. The homeschools are almost 1-to-1 at a lot of them.
Sometimes 2 adults to
Yeah.
1.
So the idea kind of, we talked about 120 students would be an entire grade. Give or take that we could accommodate, and that's for sitting down for lunch. You know, like Wes said, if 120 kids came, my understanding they'd be split in kind of 2 groups of 60, right?
Correct. Well, depending on however the size is, at 80 is usually where we cap it. If there's 85, we'll go there, but yeah, we'll split when we hit like 90, 100, we'll split them in half. And then run just 2 groups.
How many, the rock corral before it was crushed by the tree, how many did it?
It accommodated anything we put in there. The adults would have to stand around the
How
outside.
many kids did it accommodate?
The kids, again, we split it at 80, so it accommodate 80 kids.
They were tight. They were
Yeah,
tight.
Depends on whether you're talking about first graders, which are about this wide, versus 6th graders, which are this wide.
Right.
So in general, for planning purposes, we plan 2 feet per person sitting down.
I'm kind of torn on this, and I understand the attractiveness of the big metal shelter and the concrete. But I also feel like we're a nature center, and doing it the other way where it's more natural makes sense to me as a nature center. So I can actually see arguments for either way.
That's where I'm at. I picture the intro. I'm dating myself here, to Indiana Jones, the first movie. They're flying in, it was in Cairo or whatever. They have all those tents out there over the dig site type of a thing. Like, okay, that's kind of like, the vibe we're almost going for. But
That's what the rest of the property is.
yes,
I was
The-
gonna-
You gotta have concrete for food.
I was gonna comment on that. The day that we went, I'm not sure, I don't remember who else was with us. I'm sure me, but I toured it.
No, you toured it
three
separately.
of us.
Oh, it was just the 3 of us? That day it was sprinkling.
Yeah.
And it was raining. So it's kind of like if they're gonna have a lunch, all the kids were playing with the rock and the water. They were searching. They were getting wet. If they didn't have an umbrella, they were getting wet, which is fine. That takes care of that area, like he said. But if they're gonna eat, I think it'd be best for them to eat comfortable and not getting wet. At least I wouldn't want my kid getting
What
wet.
are the possibilities of doing both locations? Location 2 for the benches and the sails and the nature thing, and then building
I
a
love your thought process.
picnic area at location
I guess it
1.
would come down to, like Ms. Johnson said, cost.
Yeah.
A nice covered concrete picnic location at location 1.
Can we get the sales to overlap?
Yes, yeah. So if you look at Horseshoe Lake, it's a great example. The sales overlap there. On a rain like you were out that day, the sales would be fine.
Yeah, but
A heavier rain?
So
It was
Yeah.
drizzle, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when it does rain, we have disposable single-use ponchos that we'll issue to everybody who wants one.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see like little kids this big in a poncho that'll fit me, so it's kind of cute. They're like little blue Smurfs or it all.
That old saying where everything is possible if you throw enough money at it. I like the idea of
Yeah.
both location 1 and 2.
Well, the reality is we're gonna need both at some point. I don't know what the budgets are gonna be. The post and sale is more affordable, especially if we don't go with a concrete base in it. We keep it more of a natural or even DG. We need more sitting area for the lunches. Which will allow us to bring more activities onto site. But with that, it's a dance is what they refer to it as, moving the groups around the property and another. Cause the larger areas can work for education and lunch purposes. What we're talking about for a classroom per se, really, you can't use it for lunch. But I've encouraged staff, we have to think outside the box. what else can we do on the weekends? Could, if we did the postage sale, is there some sort of small outdoor music activity or a little concert or something that would, how else can we utilize these facilities? We have to get people through the door. We have to get people through the gate. The other thing that I told staff to look at and start talking to the schools when they're coming in. If we're booked and we can't take any more for accommodating for lunches, now that you're part of the Parks District, we have a bunch of other parks in the area. Agate Park here is only 5 minutes away, a school bus probably 7. We have 4 big shelters here. We can accommodate a school that if they wanted to come here for their lunch before they went home, or Shadow Rock or something else, let's look at other opportunities. Let's not lose a school because we can't accommodate them for lunch if they're willing to come to one of our other facilities. So we're trying to get creative in that aspect too.
Well, and
Go ahead.
I feel like, one of the things getting lost in this conversation is what is the, current facility? Like we have the sunken garden and there's that other, what is that metal shade area?
The dino.
The Dano Den, the green one.
Sure. It's big and it's open.
Yeah.
I mean, does
So
it have,
We have the.
How about the reference?
Which is 20 foot by 100 foot roughly. And then we have the dining den, which is 35 by 35 roughly.
but like,
That's
are,
covered concrete floor.
right, so can we not accommodate kids to eat there?
Yes,
Yes,
we do. So every place we have, they'll get used for both program and lunch. And we'll hot seat, this group's out, that group's in. We're constantly moving people around.
but I guess what we're not talking about is what the current inventory is versus what we need. We're just talking, oh, we should do this and we should do this. And I want to understand what is the current inventory and what is needed to maximize the use of facility. And I don't mean you have to tell me that right this second,
But
but
I'm saying, right now, we turn away schools because we don't have capacity. We have this floor space, but we don't have the physical infrastructure we need to keep the schools coming on. So we turn schools away.
So
Last year, we turned away, I think, 24 schools.
the short answer for you is we need to replace the rock route to be able to maintain status quo.
yes.
What we would like to see is an expansion. And if we added another lunch area that can double, that allows us to start growing. Yeah, so, and we can give you back we'll bring you back a detailed list of the facilities and what they're used for.
So to replace the rock corral, alls we need is some shade and some benches. I'm not saying that's ideal, but I'm saying to replace the rock corral, we really don't need shades, and we don't need.
No,
stairs
exactly.
Or this.
That's
or
what
that
we
or the
were-
other. So that is.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying we don't need another place, but I'm just saying, let's be realistic here. To replace the rock corral, all we need is benches and some shade.
The reality is we can go out and purchase a 40 by 40 tent, like you would see at a party type of a deal, stake it in place, and that would suffice us for a period of time. That's probably about what the give or take the rock corral was.
Well, I'm not saying it should be quite to that level.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just-
I get what you're saying. To get a temporary solution, that's all we need, shade.
What we're talking tonight is far more than that.
Correct. And that was what I took from the guidance you wanted to see. And let's see if we can do something permanent, not necessarily.
Again, I like location two with the more natural looking, and that frees up location one for future expansion of picnic areas.
Or if we're just going to do initially benches and shade, then maybe location 2 or 1 is not appropriate because we want to use those for something else.
Ms. Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, and I like to say that because I don't want any misunderstandings. What you're saying is basically, can't we assess what we have and provide more benches instead of doing what they just said? Well, I want these benches and I want these sheds.
Yes, I feel
Let's
like
assess,
again,
let's
we
assess
haven't-
what we have and make room for it, and
we haven't
it's already there.
We haven't done that master plan. Now we're already talking about putting up big buildings and big things and this and that and very costly things,
Yes.
which I'm not against. but I don't feel comfortable quite yet because I don't, what we lost was that little rock corral with some benches and some shade cloth. That's all we lost. And you're saying that's all we need to be back to that level. Yes, it would be great to go at a higher level, but I don't know that that's tomorrow or the next day.
And maybe we already have something that can suit that. Why jump into that category?
Well, and the reality is, even depending on what we decide to do ultimately, I don't know if it could be in place by January.
Right. So I mean, I
There's
feel
gonna
like
have
we
to be
need to.
some temporary.
We need to take a deep breath and kind of go, okay, what can we do to get it back to where it needs to be? And is there some way that that can be a little more and this, but we need to.
I'm gonna second what Mr. Leja said about making a meeting and prioritizing things.
And this is
Well,
part of it, yeah.
You can give us that priority list and we can rearrange depending on what we think is priority 1, 2, and et cetera. And then that way, right now, obviously, we're just tossing all these ideas and everything that we want and we need like pronto, but is it really pronto? I think we would just need to prioritize, like you said, Mr. Leja. That way we can. Cause we can keep going on and saying what we want and what we need, but. Really, do we really?
Yeah.
I feel like we don't know
It's
yet.
not tonight.
And again, with the activities and events of the last week, a lot of this changed.
Yes.
So, I mean, maybe we just need to, the staff needs to kind of do a brainstorm on what can we do by January
Yeah.
to replace the rock corral.
That's all the ideas.
Yeah.
Put up, like she
I
said,
don't want to spend a bunch of money on
benches.
something, well, I don't want to spend a bunch of money and say we won't reuse. So if we bought a bunch of benches, I'd want them
Well,
to.
and here's the thing is, we need to acquire picnic tables and benches. My personal preference is whatever, if we building anything going forward, those are stationary. We spend far too much time moving tables in and out of the sunken garden for different activities. And as we start developing the long-term goal of this, I think they need to be still multi-use facilities, but dedicated. If this is a bench seating area, it's a permanent bench seating area. If this is a picnic area, multi-purpose area that can be used for A, B, C, and D, but those stay there. They don't, we don't have the
Stop
staff.
playing
Yeah.
musical chairs.
Stop playing musical picnic tables, exactly.
Right.
All right, we're good.
Great. Any last comments?
Agree with the list.
Yep, we will be working on that. We already have it going and we can bring it and start prioritizing it. And we'll put together dollar estimates as well.
All right, moving on to the general manager's report. Mr. Wood.
I think I'll mark pass tonight.
There. All right, moving on to board comments. Ms. Johnson. Right, Mr. Castellan.
Yeah. Just want to commend staff and everyone involved again with everything happened with the fire. Ms. Johnson, I think the timing happened to be that we were able to take on the responsibility to handle this right, and I think you all handled it well. And I think this is shows a positive sign of what we're able to accomplish moving forward. So again, thank you all for everything that you're able to do in terms of handling this as effectively as you can, and pass it on to the rest of staff. We're all involved in our partners as well.
What he said. I didn't say that. What he said.
Ditto.
Yes, ditto.
So, yeah, I think, and that's it for me.
Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I think I made most of my comments throughout the last couple of items on the agenda, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Ms. James.
I too want to congratulate everybody that helped and that pitched in. Hobie, Joyce, everybody just relayed the message that we are very thankful for their hard work. And excited to continue this task with JDMC, or did I get it right? Excuse me, yes. The fact that we are the best agency that was able to take this on. I don't think anybody else could have done a good job with the circumstance. I think we just knocked it off the park and we showed him. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, and ditto on my fellow board members' comments, and thank you to staff. It's just, you know, there's not enough thank yous in the world, really, for answering the call in such a short time, and you know, there was no practice for this, so it was pretty amazing to get those updates and, you know, to see you guys in action too.
If everything works, I'm trying to, I haven't talked with Wes about this, I like to bring in the JMBC staff and the couple of volunteers that helped and recognize them at the next
Be
meeting.
nice.
Please, yes. All right. No committee reports or interagency?
Do you guys want to hear it? Because there's a lot of stuff, and we've been here a long time, so.
We abridged.
Abridged. I don't think we have to hear it all, do we?
No, okay, I'll bring over the sheriff's department because we all always talk about the 4th of July. For July, there were 185 fireworks calls, 17 arrests, and they confiscated 780 pounds of fireworks, which, as far as I'm concerned, was a penny's worth compared to what went off in the sky. JCSD is continuing to work on the pyrite sewer replacement and meter replacements. And as we all know, the Hello Hydrant has seen a lot of use this past month or so. The Assembly and the Senate are all in recess until mid-August, nothing there. We all know about the capacity fees, which will not affect the majority of us on our regular bills. It's just for new construction. They're doing a lot more, 500 more cameras in the classrooms in the school district. They have grants out for 39 electric buses. And they're also complaining that attendance is down by 300 students per year. And the feds are withholding $6 million in funding for Title IX violations. Let them sort that out.
That has been restored.
That has been restored. Okay. I had not heard that.
Yeah.
But, the only other thing, we all know about Target and all that other stuff. There will be no veterans parade. The Mission Bridge, this can affect everybody. The Mission Bridge is scheduled to start next year, replacing the Mission Bridge. And at the same time, they're going to redo the lanes on the Van Buren Bridge.
Oh, great.
So we're hoping that they don't overlap too much. But from what I understood from the meeting, they're all going to happen within the same time period. So we may have to have a long way around to get to Riverside if we need to. That is, you know, how our city government works sometimes. And the next meeting will be on September 19th at 8:30 at the JCC. And that's my abbreviated report.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank
'cause
you.
That's how we go to school, so, yeah.
Need a helicopter.
Yes, it's all.
All right, future committee meetings, we need to schedule the,
Do you want to make your announcement or?
yes. So for the JMDC meeting, it'll be myself and Ms. Rivas, because we're the only ones on one committee each. Didn't feel appropriate to shuffle and, or have someone with three. Hope you all understand. And everyone.
You guys have fun with the critters.
Hey, we all volunteered, you know, so this means we all wanted that spot.
Yes. So, all right, and then we'll schedule that out.
Yeah,
As soon as
if you guys get that scheduled, Bishop Gazes.
All right, any agenda items for future board meetings? Yeah, okay, and then upcoming meeting, August 28th and September 11th. And with that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:33.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Good night.
Bob.
Have a good night.
It's been an insightful evening. Thank you all. Talk to you next time.